Hello, and welcome to the Haventree Parent Podcast, where we get a minute to get away for the kids before they wake up and talk about something that's important to us and to you.
Today's special guest is Pascal.
If you can see his face in the flap.
Pascal just got groomed yesterday, so he is feeling a little bit foolish still about his new haircut, as some people do when a haircut doesn't go quite the way.
Now he is Falcor from the Neverending Story.
I think he looks really cute. I did it myself, obviously, since we're still, in quarantine and lockdown, whatever, at the time of filming this, at least. So I actually am pretty impressed. He did a very good job holding still for me, but we tried a new experiment, so it, didn't go quite as I expected. I have definitely figured out a couple of things I want to do differently next time, but it turned out pretty good, so I'm happy with it. Anyway, Pascal is going to be joining us today to continue our conversation about love languages. Today we're going to be talking about the particular love language of gifts.
So today, since we're going to be talking about the love language of gifts, I think it's going to be mostly a conversation between about her mom and my mom, because that's mostly the ones that stand out to us as far as like
Grandmas
the love
love
language
to
of
give
gifts.
gifts.
Oh yeah. Especially once there's a new baby on the works, it's like here's this, here's that. Yeah. What else do you need?
So, but I think before we get into that, it's important to kind of take a moment to talk about sort of the idea of love languages. We talked about it a little bit last week. But if you didn't listen to all of those, Gary Chapman has written a few books about love languages. He wrote about love languages for couples, for kids, I think for teens maybe. We have read and owned 2 of them and really enjoy them. And we feel like it has been beneficial to our relationship with our kids. But love language is really, the idea is that people have sort of different instinctive ways that they feel loved and that they try to show and demonstrate love to others. And they sort of tend to fall into 5 basic categories. And a lot of people may have 2 that they're particularly strong in typically. But it can be kind of challenging when your spouse or your child doesn't have the same love language as you, because you kind of have to learn how to receive love that way and give love the way that makes them feel loved. Because otherwise it sort of is talking in 2 actual different languages. If you're doing something for them to express your love and they're, trying to give you something to express their love, you may, sort of be missing each other, even though what you're trying to tell each other is I love you. You may be doing that in different ways. So it's important, I think, to understand. And so, like I said, the one we're going to be talking about today is gifts. Gifts is one of all 5. I think this is the one that is sort of the most difficult for me.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult for myself as well, because it's not something
You like to give gifts. You like to give gifts a lot.
I want to say I do, but like it's always hard for me to give the right gift.
Yeah.
Like, if I find the right gift, I would give the right gift, but
See,
it's not,
and I wish that I had that talent. Like, it's one of those things that like I almost envy. Like,
don't trust it though. One year for Christmas, I gave everybody in my family a calendar because they were like $11 each, and I was like, "Oh, this is be an easy win. I just give everybody calendars; they'll all love it." And it was like everybody opened their calendar. I was like,
"Great,
thanks for the $10."
Yeah,
wasted. So it was like, this is awful.
So
there's definitely a learning experience in gift giving. Make sure you're good at it.
That I was good at gift giving. Like there are those people that are like, I saw this thing and I thought of you, and you just feel like that person knows me better than anybody in the whole world. Like I feel seen, or like whatever. Like, like
See, and I tried to do that. I was like, Adriel will want, or Ashley will want cats. Alyssa will want horses. And like, I had like, the calendar was just like 12 pictures of like one animal. And I was like, they'll love these things. And everybody was like, this is garbage. And I did not get the affirmation I needed.
So gifts can be a little bit different, right? But I think that everybody knows, like, hopefully at least once in your life you've experienced like getting the gift that is just like
perfect,
perfect gift, and you just feel like this person knows me so well.
Usually it's from your wife, obviously. Points.
This person knows me so well. This person thought about me, enough to get this thing, or like whatever, right? So even though maybe it feels a little bit like self-serving if someone wants to be given gifts to feel loved. I do think that like we can all relate to that to some extent, of getting that really special gift.
Yeah.
And kids in particular, like kids like to get stuff. Like they tend to be like, gimme. Like that's sort of their nature, right?
And as we talked about last week, a few of the different love languages, it was one of the things was like, I'm trying to figure out where Adri falls in the love languages, because I don't feel like I have a good read on which love language is hers, and I feel like it's probably changing and molding into what it will
and it
be.
Tends to for kids, yeah.
But I feel like gift giving is something that's starting to stand out as one of her wanting to do love languages. Because after every birthday or after every sort of holiday, or like here's a basket of gifts and whatever, like that's very much like the storyline for all of their play and imagination stories is like, we're gonna give this box of gifts, and it's like a box of like rocks and like baby doll clothes and like random stuff, and you're just like, thanks for the box, but it's really starting to stand out as like that's what she wants to do for people, is give something to you.
And so for a kid who gift giving and receiving is their love language, they're not just going to be like asking for stuff, because it's not really for them. It's not as much about the stuff as it is like they're going to ooh and ah over like the package. They're going to remember who gave them each thing. So it'll be like, Grammy gave me this and Mommy gave me this.
Which again, I think that stands out for Adri, because she would always remember. She was like, I got that from so-and-so. I got this from so-and-so. And like I did as a parent that doesn't appreciate gift giving as much as I should. It wasn't something I could keep track of. I know like for like baby showers, you'd like write that down. Like, I got this from so-and-so. I need to send a thank you letter.
Yeah.
And like Adri just does that mentally. She's like, and she keeps that,
Oh yeah.
It's locked in. I got this from so-and-so. Got this from so-and-so.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me
and
to.
When?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
For my fifth birthday.
We had a Valentine's Day box. It was like this red heart box.
Yeah.
And I tried to throw it away, and like Saya bawled because he's like, that was from Granny or Granana or whoever. And I was like,
whatever.
Okay.
It's a cardboard
It's a box. It's broken. It doesn't need to be in the toys. It's not. That's not the gift. The gift was in the box.
Yeah.
And it was just like this little decorative thing you wanted to keep. And I was like, sorry, guys, I don't know what to say about it. So we'll let it linger for another month and see if it survives.
And see if I can sneak it out instead. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, they're definitely more aware of who gave what. And you probably, I mean, I assume people have the same thing with their kids where they have that locked in. Yeah,
kids tend to be hoarders a little bit. They tend to like to collect things. That is a developmental phase.
Sure.
So there is that. But kids who gift giving is their love language or one of their love languages, they really see that gift as a physical sign of your love for them. And I think another way to think about that is like when you get married, you exchange rings. And there's like this whole thing of like, it's an outward expression of the commitment that you're making and blah, 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 blah. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, so gifts are important, but for a person who, gift giving is really important. That's really what it means. That's why they like it. It's not a selfishness. It's not a I want more sort of attitude. It's that you thought of me and you got it for me, and it's like a physical sign and a physical reminder of your love for them. And
one of the interesting things I want to say that we do to help the kids with that, like giving something of interest to other people, is like before Christmases or whatever, we always try to go through all of the boxes of their own toys and just say like, hey, we want to give away some of our toys to kids that don't have any, and like we'll definitely go donate those. And move those on and sort of make space for whatever they will be getting from the Grammys and grandmas that want to get them the next biggest toy for their Christmas or whatever, and sort of like help us not be swimming in all of the gifts.
Right. Because with 5, it's just a lot all the time.
Right. There's a lot of things floating everywhere. Yeah. I can only step on so many Legos, and so it's something we do that's like, hey, we're going to give these away to other kids. So that we don't want toys that are broken. We want toys that you're not playing with anymore, that aren't interested, or that you don't have a connection to. Because if we go through it and we pick something, like I said, it could be the red box that was important to them. Like, sorry, that was a red box. I thought it was nothing. And so we want them to pick what they're giving to those other kids that don't, have all of the ability to get, toys from 4 different grandmas or whatever else.
Right.
So I think that's an important way for them to just highlight their ability to give and make cards for other people and stuff like that too.
Right.
So,
yeah. And I think, as parents too, it's important to remember that like they're, I don't know what he just did. Little weirdo.
It's like, what was
that?
that?
Sorry. He's such a weirdo. That kids may value gifts from other people more than things from you. Or if they're like getting rid of stuff or choosing stuff to get rid of, they may choose to get rid of the stuff that you got because they have a lot of stuff from you. Whereas they may only have 2 things from their friend from elementary school that they don't see anymore.
Mm-hmm,
right. Mm-hmm. So like, again, that's not something to take personally or, get upset about. That just has to do with the way that they, remember things, the way that they think about things. And so I think it's really important to kind of just bear that in mind, especially if you have a kid that appreciates gift giving in particular. Because that's something that, like, it annoys me to no end that it's like, I spent a lot of money on that. Or like,
right.
you were asked for that for weeks and I got it for you.
You kept talking about this.
And you want to keep like a cardboard box that's, crushed from your friend from Valentine's Day? Like, come on. But they attribute a different sort of meaning to that.
Right.
Which is kind of good and bad, for kids. Like, you can bring them a flower. Like, if that's something that, like, or a cool rock or a feather. Like, I saw this and I thought it was really cool and I thought you'd love to see it. Gifts don't always have to be expensive or toys. If you have a kid that likes and appreciates gift giving and receiving, it could be, or like, hey, I stopped at, the gas station on the way home and got you guys a snack, mm-hmm. right?
Well, and I think that's where you say that I like gift giving is because I like giving gifts of food because it's always like you see that lighten up on people's faces and it's not cumbersome where it's like now I have to find a place on my shelf for this thing, right. Or find a location to keep it. It's just something that like, hey, you can enjoy it for 5 minutes when I'm with you, and then I can get affirmation from it easily, and it's a repetitive sort of cycle for myself. So I give a gift, I get affirmation. It's a very good win, but it's also devastating because a lot of snacks is bad. So
I think in that vein, it's also very important to bear in mind, like if your kid gives you a cool rock, that you honor that at least for a while, right? Like, try a rock. Like, but I'm
quickly like get this away from the driveway, not get closer to the cars.
So I'll like put it like next to the sink so that I see it every time I wash my hands, or like.
And then I'm like, why is this rock in the kitchen?
Or like even like dandelions, like, oh, let's get some water and put it in some water on the counter. Like I know that it's going to die in like 10 minutes, and a day or 2 later, like, oh, it is dead, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. But I really appreciate how beautiful it was. And so it's important to recognize that and be appreciative of that. And because that is, they don't have money yet. Like they're doing the best that they can to provide those gifts. So one of the things that then can become challenging is if gift giving and receiving is one of your kids' love languages, how do you do that in a special way without spoiling one kid and not giving
gifts to all of them? Yeah, exactly. And that's I don't know if we have that figured out yet. So if you have that mastered, please comment below and tell us what your tricks are for making everybody feel appreciated for giving gifts to not just the one.
Well, so I think one way that you do that is
like I said, with candy, it's easy.
I set you up, man, and you didn't even give yourself credit.
I did not, because I was lost. That's a challenge. Good luck to all of you out there.
I think that one way you do that is like if you bring home a treat for everybody.
Yeah.
Like,
and I try to make
sure you'll give it to Adri, and you'll be like, look, I got this for everybody because I thought you guys would enjoy it. And so you get to have kind of that moment with her of like, I did this for you, blah, blah, blah. And now you get to go and give it to your siblings as well.
Oh, and pass it on.
And sort of like share that love.
You're in charge of the item. Yeah.
And so that sort of gives you that special.
See, it's hard for me to see it because I just do it. Yeah.
You give that, special moment of gift giving to the kid that it's meaningful to, and you give them the opportunity to then
do it
show
again.
Love.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's kind of an easy way. And then again, like flowers or rocks or like things on a walk.
Yeah.
You know, those are things that like the child who appreciates gift giving is going to be so thrilled by. Whereas like a different kid be like, cool, you know, like, so.
Well, and I think I probably motivated that in Adri because I'm like, why don't you grab that flower and go take it to mom? And, you know, started that early. So,
so, but you can give stuff to them too. That's like, you know, look at this cool thing I found. And that's kind of an easy way to do that. I think certainly you do have to be careful about, if you have a kid who likes receiving and giving gifts, you do have to be careful. I'm hearing children. You do have to be careful about not manipulating that or using bribes, because especially for a kid who finds gifts an act of love, bribes and sort of like, if you do this, I'll give you that, can be really damaging.
I think that's
to
true
your relationship.
I think that's true for all the love languages. You don't want to corrupt any of them. You know, physical touch, quality time.
Physical touch is really obvious though. Like, don't touch your children inappropriately. You know,
no. I meant like, as far as like, I won't give you a hug until you go get me a blanket, or like I won't. Like, that's what I meant by that. Okay. Sorry. way to crap that one.
That's what I thought you meant. Like, there's always ways to like mess up love languages. Yeah, if you. Sorry, I was going a different path.
I just meant like holding it over their head.
Duh.
Like, I will not give you this gift until you get me XYZ.
Right, you know, especially if you know that's our love language. You have to be really cautious with that. Yeah. But I think for gifts in particular, that's kind of one that's a little bit easier to like do without recognizing that you're doing it. Especially if love languages, or I mean, if gifts is your kid's love language, but it's not yours, it may be something that you're doing without recognizing. Right. You know, of like, oh, because you did this thing that I wanted you to do, I'm going to give you something. Right. But then that sort of is suggesting that your love is conditional. And that's not at all what you're trying to tell them. You're trying to tell them like, I know that you appreciate this, so I'm going to do this nice thing for you because I appreciate what you did for me. Yeah. Right. And so the message that you could be unintentionally giving them, if they're attributing a gift with your love and then you're giving them a gift or a reward because they did something that you appreciated, especially like if your love language is acts of service and their love language is gifts, you feel loved because they took out the garbage. And so you want to show them love by getting them a special toy or, you know, whatever. But that can also lead to sort of manipulating that gift a little bit. And so you have to be really careful about making sure that if you're giving gifts or you're doing that, you're doing it regardless of the behaviors that you're seeing, especially for the kid who that's their love language. Yeah.
Well, I agree with you. And I think that's, you know, again, it just highlights the positive factor of the star chart that we've created where like they can earn a star for going above and beyond with an act of service or just helping out a sibling or helping out us by doing extra things. And then they get a star for that. And it takes 40 stars before they, you know, we get to the moment of like, okay, you have a little chart. Now we'll get you a little $5 gift off of Amazon. Right. And you get to pick it. And I think that has helped with like wanting to reward them and give them a gift because they're deserving it. And that helps them see like everything that they've been able to accomplish towards it, or at least gives them an idea of like, oh, I'll be getting a gift once I get 2 more stars or whatever. Cause like Saya's always counting them like, I have 7, Adria has 8. Yeah. I need to do another star thing.
They're silly. Yeah. So research says that kids that are spoiled have some common poor behavior traits. And I just kind of thought that this was a really interesting thing, because obviously you want to make sure you're not spoiling a child, even if that's their love language. You want to be careful and find that balance there. But research suggests that kids who are spoiled can become overly dependent on their parents. And they have trouble becoming happy themselves as an adult without their parents' provision of, items and things. And then that issue of dependency also can create, issues with other relationships, whether that be with a significant other in the future. They can demonstrate irresponsibility. They can show disrespect to certain belongings, which is kind of a weird thing. Like, you would think that if a kid appreciates gifts, that would then make them very respectful of things. But if you sort of overdo that and that becomes something of spoiling them, it can sort of morph into this, little monster gremlin, and they can become disrespectful of things. And then they can also just generally have poor relationship skills, other than kind of the issues of dependency, because their focus is so reliant on things rather than people and relationships. And so just, kind of an interesting thing that, like, again, I, sort of see stuff as stuff, like, to me, it's not really that important. I'm terrible about remembering, like, where something came from or, like, who gave it to me. And so, I don't, like, I can read about it and understand it, but I don't emotionally relate to that at all. But it's interesting then that, like, on the flip side of that, stuff isn't just stuff. It can express love, or it can really kind of create some damaging effects if you're using it in a way that's inappropriate. And so I think it's important to bear in mind sort of both ends of the spectrum with that.
Definitely. Yeah, like I think we mentioned before last week when we said, like, there's definitely a butterfly effect with these things, that if you don't pay close enough attention to it and give it the focus it needs, that there could be really significant things that fall out of that. And it's hard to understand, like, how drastic it can be. But I mean, we all know that there's just a slew of categories of, like, this one thing happened in my life and, like, it caused all sorts of changes. Yeah. So
the final note that I would say, just very quickly, because I think our time is about up here.
Yeah, we're over.
But I think it's very important to make sure that you are treating special events and occasions and holidays with sort of the enthusiasm and respect they deserve, because for a person who gift giving is important, it's important, that you get them a card for Mother's Day, for example, or you do this special thing for some random occasion. And I'm, again, that's kind of an area that I'm just not very good. Like, like, I'm not good at getting cards and things for Mother's Day. I'm not good at remembering to, like, whatever. And so it's something that I have to work really hard to do. Mm-hmm. And even more so, I think, for your kids. Like, it's obvious to, like, get them a gift for their birthday, like, because they're little. But I think that there's lots of other ways that it's important to do, like, make them a Valentine's Day card. Like, it's just a nice special thing to do with them. And so it's very important, I guess I would say, for those kids.
I think I heard the baby.
I know. I was going to say, I think that it is time to wrap this up, as the kids are definitely awake, not going to be waking up soon.
So we're going to go into the next adventure. But until the next adventure, bye.
Bye.